Thank you for coming. My name is MCGUCKIN, and this is sponsored by the Vancouver Eco Socialist Group. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we are meeting on territory that has not been ceded by the Coast Salish people of the Tsleil-Waututh, Squamish, and Musqueam nations to anybody. The city as a site of struggle is what we are going to talk about. Indeed, this urban area is a site of many struggles. All cities are. And our panelists are going to give us some insights into a wide variety of those struggles in the Lower Mainland. We've invited speakers with socialist and anti-capitalist perspectives who are active in different struggles in the city. But we've not asked them to come as spokespersons for the organizations they're members of. Rather, we want them to present their own thoughts on the basis of their activist experiences. We have asked each of them to speak for 15 minutes and to focus on two questions. One, what needs to be done in your area or areas of struggle to make a more livable, socially just, environmentally harmonized future? And two, what ideas do you have about linking together different struggles in the city, which all basically confront the same forces of greed and oppression? So why are the Vancouver Socialists hosting such a meeting? We've usually concentrated on the environmental crisis and emphasizing that capitalism is the root cause. But there's always been a desire, as socialists, to deal with the broader range of struggles against capitalist depredations. Originally, we started out talking late last summer about putting together a weekend teach-in on our planet's desperate need for a genuine, democratically controlled transition plan, a plan to move ourselves quickly away from the onrushing catastrophic climate change and towards a post-carbon energy and economic system. As you know, in recent years, we've seen a spate of so-called climate plans. We have the Paris Accord. We have the Pan-Canadian Framework on Clean Growth and Climate Change, all in one breath. We have a series of partial British Columbia plans, and many political parties also have climate plans. Unfortunately, without exception, all of these plans are eco-suicidally inadequate and sometimes ridiculous. Our Prime Minister, does he really believe that we're going to finance a green future with more pipelines? Or is he just baffle-gabbing us? These plans propose to do way too little, way too slowly. They will not reverse or halt or even slow climate change, nor will they stop the extreme weather events and human suffering that climate change continues to bring. These so-called plans are virtually silent on how to ensure jobs lost in the fossil fuel industry would be replaced by green jobs. They don't stress, the plans, that the escalating public costs of floods, landslides, droughts, and ice storms, among many other things, should be paid by taxing the corporate greenhouse gas emitters rather than by austerity, that is, by public spending cuts to healthcare, education, income and housing assistance, and other crucial social services. Neither did the planners deal with military spending, often in support of extended conflicts that we've come to know as oil wars, which put additional pressures on social spending budgets. Far from seeking to limit the rapid increase of Canadian fossil fuel exports, the plans are silent in the face of government and corporate policy promoting this increase. Nor do the plans make the link between these exports and the unprecedented tides of climate refugees surging around the planet. About the growing racism in Canada related to this tragedy, the planners are also mum. I could go on for the entire time that we have here, listing off the things that these plans do not take into account that need to be taken into account. So last summer we discussed holding a teach-in on why we need and how we could launch a public campaign to initiate a genuine, comprehensive democratic transition planning process. We talked with likely allies at Simon Fraser University's Institute for the Humanities and got a dose of realism when they said that with something so complex, we should be looking at the fall of 2018 or perhaps later. In the meantime, after considering all the struggles and issues that a genuine transition plan would involve, we decided to hold one or more forums on the city as a site of struggle. The logic being that in any democratic transition planning process, activists on the ground are going to be absolutely key. Though many of the ills of late capitalism are international, national, and regional, The place where resistance starts, gets organized, is most often local community and local neighborhood. Like our speakers tonight, we eco-socialists are eager to help link up the sectoral struggles. We note that there are others in the community, some of whom I see here tonight, who are also working for such collaboration, such unity, among them the new group that's trying to get a LEAP chapter off the ground here. We have hopes for at least one more forum later this spring on the city and as a site of struggle in March or April. And we also have the good fortune to be hosting a talk at the end of April by John Bellamy Foster, a professor of sociology at the University of Oregon and editor of Monthly Review, who is a key eco-socialist writer about environmental crisis and about Marxist theory. As a small group, we are excited and also somewhat daunted by our plans for the coming months, but we are not too proud to say we need help. Help? If you're interested, there's a sign-up sheet on our table outside that has a column where you can tick, and if you wanted to help out with any or all of these things that we're trying to do. And if you know other people who might be interested in helping, please get them to contact us through our website as well. Okay, just a couple more pieces of business. After the discussion, we will be or after the speakers, we'll be having a discussion among all you folks. And we also, at the beginning of that, will be passing the bucket around to help pay for the ecology. Our friend Devin is very good about coming to these things and giving us a very reasonable price for producing a video for us, but also just for the general running of our operation. And I also want to ask just briefly right now, so that we can use it for future planning, how did people learn about tonight's event? Could you just raise your hands briefly while I read out a number of different possibilities? Were you told about it by a friend? Actually, let me borrow this a sec. Did you see it on Facebook? Alrighty. Did you get an email? Okay. Did you see a poster or a leaflet anywhere? Okay. Welcome again to the 21st century. Did you see a notice of it anywhere in the media? Okay. So without further ado, let me introduce our speakers. We're going to put them in alphabetical order, not seniority, although there may be some conjunctures there. Two spaces to my left is Elsie Dean. I work with Elsie and the Burnaby residents opposing Kinder Morgan expansion. She is a city legend who wants me to say about her only, Elsie was a youth during the period of the dirty 30s, the 40s war period, and the post-war oppression of the Cold War and the Smith Act, McCarthyism. Growing up during this period resulted in being well schooled in the basic tenets of how capitalism functions to fool people, separate them from the fruits of their labor, and deprive them of liberty. Next in line, we will be having Yi Chien Jade Ho, who is currently a PhD candidate at Simon Fraser University and an environmental and social justice educator and activist. She has recently joined the Chinatown Concerned Group and Chinatown Action Group in their fight to resist gentrification and the colonial takeover of Chinatown and the downtown East Side. Growing up in the coastal countries of Taiwan and Belize, Jade finds home in the water and loves dancing her heart out in her living room. Next we have Isabel Krupp, who unfortunately was not able to be accompanied by Pauline Morris, they were going to share a 15-minute presentation tonight. They worked on it together, but Pauline had to go to work. So the only thing worse than not having a job is having one. So Isabel is an activist with the Alliance Against Displacement, which is a grassroots organization that organizes with communities facing displacement in British Columbia. In recent months, the Alliance has been active against demolitions in Metrotown and at the Anita Place tent city in Maple Ridge. Their goal is to support the development of people's power in working class and Indigenous communities and build alliances between struggles. Isabel is going to share, oh no, Isabel and Pauline are not going to share their 50 minutes. Okay, Jean Swanson, to my right, although only geographically, is a lifelong social justice activist who campaigned to save the Carnegie Center from demolition in the 70s, founded End Legislated Poverty in the 80s, and ran as an independent candidate in the 2017 City Council by-election a couple of months ago. In that campaign, she proposed solutions to the current Vancouver housing crisis, such as the rent freeze and the mansion tax, and energized young and old alike to work for her and for the new ideas she proposed. And finally, Ananda Lee Tan is the new campaign's organizing director of the Climate Justice Alliance, which is a collaborative of more than 35 community-based and movement-supported organizations in the U.S. Community Justice Alliance is forging a scalable and socially economically just transition away from unsustainable energy towards local living economies to address the root causes of climate change. It is rooted in Indigenous, African American, Latino, Asian Pacific Islander, and working class white communities throughout the U.S. That's our program for this evening. I hope you enjoy it.